Wire are an English rock band, formed in London in October 1976 by Colin Newman, Graham Lewis, Bruce Gilbert, and Robert Gotobed. They were originally associated with the punk rock scene, appearing on the Roxy London WC2 album a key early document of the scene and with later central to the development of post-punk. Inspired by the burgeoning UK punk scene, Wire are often cited as one of the more important rock groups of the 1970s and 1980s. Critic Stewart Mason wrote, "Over their brilliant first three albums, Wire expanded the sonic boundaries of not just punk, but rock music in general." Wire are a definitive art punk and post-punk ensemble, mostly due to their richly detailed and atmospheric sound, often obscure lyrical themes, and, to a lesser extent, their situationist political stance. The group exhibited a steady development from an early raucous punk style to a more complex, structured sound involving increased use of guitar effects and synthesizers. The band gained a reputation for experimenting with song arrangements throughout its career. History: Wire's debut album, Pink Flag perhaps the most original debut album to come out of the first wave of British punk, according to AllMusic contains songs which are diverse in mood and style, but most use a minimalist punk approach combined with unorthodox structures. Field Day for the Sundays, for example, is only 28 seconds long. Chairs Missing followed in 1978, and found Wire stepping back from the stark minimalism of Pink Flag, with longer, more atmospheric songs and synthesizer parts added by producer Mike Thorne. Outdoor Miner was a minor hit, peaking at number 51 in the UK singles chart. The experimentation was even more prominent on 154. In addition, many of the songs featured bassist Graham Lewis on lead vocals instead of Colin Newman. In 1979, creative differences pulled the band in different directions, leading to the Document and Eyewitness LP, a recording of a live performance that featured, almost exclusively, new material, which was described as disjointed, unrecognizable as rock music, and almost unlistenable. The LP came packaged with an EP of a different performance of more new material. Some of these songs, along with others performed but not included on the album, were included on Newman's post-Wire solo albums, while others were released by Gilbert and Lewis' primary post-Wire outlet Dome. Between 1981 and 1985, Wire ceased recording and performing in favor of solo and non-Wire collaborative projects such as Dome, Cupel, Duet Demo, and several Colin Newman solo efforts. In 1985, the group reformed as a beat combo, with greater use of electronic musical instruments. Wire announced that they would perform none of their older material, hiring the Ex-Lion Tamers as their opening act. The Ex-Lion Tamers played Wire's older material. Wire played their new material. They released Ibterba in 1989, a live album of mostly reworked versions of songs from The Ideal Copy and A Bell is a Cup, heavily rearranged, edited, and remixed. A new song from the album, Eardrum Buzz, was released as a single and peaked at number 68 in the UK singles chart. Gotobed left the band in 1990, after the release of the album Manscape. After his departure, the band dropped one letter from its name, becoming Wire, and released the first letter in 1991. There followed a further period of solo recordings, during which Newman founded the Swim label, and later jittered with his wife, while Wire remained an occasional collaboration. It was not until 1999 that Wire again became a full-time entity. With Gotobed back in the lineup, the group initially reworked much of their back catalogue for a performance at Royal Festival Hall on February 26, 2000. Wire's reception during a short tour in early May of the US, and a number of UK gigs, convinced the band to continue. 2 EPs and an album, Send, followed, as well as collaborations with stage designers Devlin and artists Jake and Dinos Chapman. In 2006, Wire's 1970s albums were remastered and re-released with original vinyl track listings. Rumors abounded of a renewal of activity to mark the 30th anniversary of the band's debut as a 4-piece and the re-release of Pink Flag. A third Read and Burn EP was released in November 2007. A full-length album of new material entitled Object 47 was released in July 2008. Bruce Gilbert was not involved in this recording, although, according to Newman, he did feature in a minimal capacity on the third Read and Burn EP. On January 10, 2011, the band released their 12th studio album, Red Bark Tree, which rekindles a lyricism sometimes absent from Wire's previous work and reconnects with the live energy of performance, harnessed and channeled from extensive touring over the past few years. The album was written and recorded by Newman, Lewis and Gray, but speaking to Mark Riley on the day of the release, Newman introduced as a new boy guitarist Matt Sims, who has been with the band since April 2010 as a touring member. In March 2013 the band released Change Becomes Us, their 13th studio album, which was very well received. Their 14th album, eponymously titled Wire, was released on April 13, 2015 in the UK. Influence: Wire's influence has outshone their comparatively modest record sales. In the 1980s and 1990s, the Urinals, Manic Street Preachers, The Minutemen, Sonic Youth, and R.E.M., expressed a fondness for the group. R.E.M. covered Strange on their album Document. Minor Threat covered 12xU. Since their 2008 reunion, the Feelies have regularly covered Outdoor Miner during its live sets, and Lush also covered the track. Robert Smith has described how, after seeing the group live, influenced The Cure's sound after their first album. Guided by Voices, Robert Pollard claimed that Wire was his favorite band, and that the fact that GBV's albums had so many songs was directly influenced by Wire's albums. One of My Bloody Valentine's last releases prior to reconvening in 2007 was a cover of Map Ref 41 A Degree N93 A Degree W for a Wire tribute entitled Whore. The song was selected as a favorite cover by Flack magazine. More recently, Fisher Spooner, Britpop bands like Elastica and Mensuete, and post-punk revival bands like Block Party, Futureheads, Blacklist, and Franz Ferdinand have cited Wire as an influence. Blur's work, along with many more minor Britpop bands, have been cited as particularly reminiscent of 1970s Wire at various points, with Graham Coxon and Damon Albarn both speaking of the band's influence on Blur. The Smiths' Johnny Marr has confirmed that he is a fan of the band and has acknowledged that seeing Wire live helped give him the confidence to release his first solo album in 2013. The British electronic band Ladytron included Wire's The 15th on the Mix compilation Softcore Jukebox. The Ladytrons band member Ruben Wu claimed Wire as a musical influence. Wire were influential on American hardcore punk. Fans included Ian MacKaye of the hardcore punk band Minor Threat and Henry Rollins, formerly of Black Flag. Minor Threat covered 12xU for the Dischord Records compilation Flex Your Head, as well as Boss Hog on their I Dig You EP. Henry Rollins, as Henrietta Collins and the Wife-Beating Child Haters, covered Ex-Lion Tamer on the EP Drive-By Shooting. Michael Azerrad reported, in the book Our Band Could Be Your Life, that at Minor Threat's second gig, each of the 7 bands on the roster performed its version of a Wire song. Big Black covered Wire's Heartbeat twice, once as a studio version which was released as a single, and also as a live version, featuring Bruce Gilbert and Graham Lewis, that was included on the VHS version of its live album Pigpile. The slowcore band Low included an early, previously unreleased cover of Heartbeat on their career-spanning box set in 2007. Ampere recorded a cover of Mr. Suit for its 2006 split with Das Oath. New Bomb Turks also recorded a cover of Mr. Suit on its 1993 album Destroy Oh Boy. The chorus of Ministry's Thieves was influenced by Mr. Suit as well. Helmet guitarist Page Hamilton cites Wire as one of his top 5 bands, and an influence on his music. A plagiarism case between Wire's music publisher and Elastica, over the similarity between Wire's 1977 song 3 Girl Rumba, and Elastica's 1995 hit Connection, resulted in an out-of-court settlement. Discography. Studio albums, Pink Flag, Chairs Missing, 154, The Ideal Copy, A Bell is a Cup, Ibteba, Manscape, The Drill, The First Letter, Send, Object 47, Red Bark Tree, Change Becomes Us, Wire. References. External links, official website, Wire at All Music.